भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्णा। Today we continuing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto First, Chapter. दह्यमाने अग्निभिः देहे
दह्यमाने अग्निभिः देहे
पतिः पत्नी सहोटजे।
पत्युः पत्नी स ओटजे।
सह उटजे उटजे बहिः स्थिता पतिं स्वाद्वी
बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी
तम अग्निम अनुवेक्षति।
तम अग्निम् अनुवेक्षति।
विदुरः तु तत् आश्चर्यम्
विदुरः तु तत् आश्चर्यम्
निशाम्य कुरु नन्दन।
निशाम्य कुरु नन्दन।
हर्षशोकयुधः तस्मात्
हर्षशोकः युतः तस्माद्
गन्ताः तीर्थनिषेवकः
गन्तः तीर्थनिषेवकः
इति उक्त्वा अथ आरुहत्
इति उक्त्वा अथ आरुहत्।
स्वर्गं नारद स तुम्बुरुः।
स्वर्गं नारदः स तुम्बुरुः।
युधिष्ठिरवचः तस्य
युधिष्ठिरः वचः तस्य
हृदि कृत्वा जहात शुचः।
हृदि कृत्वा जहात शूचः।
दह्यमाने अग्निभिः देहे
दह्यमाने अग्निभिः देहे
पत्युः पत्युः पत्नी स उटजे।
पत्युः पत्नी सह ऊटजे।
बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी
बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी
तम अग्निम अनुवेक्षति।
तम अग्निम् अनुवेक्षति।
विदुरः तु तत् आश्चर्यम्
विदुरः तु तत् आश्चर्यम्
निशाम्य कुरु नन्दन।
निशाम्य कुरु नन्दन।
हर्षशोकयुतः तस्मात्
हर्षशोकः युतः तस्माद्
गन्ता तीर्थनिषेवकः
गन्तः तीर्थनिषेवकः
इति उक्त्वा अथ आरुहत्
इति उक्त्वा अथ आरुहत्।
स्वर्गं नारद तम्बुरुः।
स्वर्गं नारदः स तम्बुरुः।
युधिष्ठिरवचः तस्य
युधिष्ठिरः वचः तस्य
हृदि कृत्वा जहात शुचः।
हृदि कृत्वा जहात शूचः।
दह्यमाने अग्निभिः देहे पत्युः पत्नी स ऊटजे। बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तम अग्निम अनुवेक्षति। विदुरः तु तत् आश्चर्यम् निशाम्य कुरु नन्दन। हर्षशोकयुतः तस्मात् गन्ता तीर्थनिषेवकः इति उक्त्वा अथ आरुहत् स्वर्गं नारद स तुम्बुरुः। युधिष्ठिरवचः तस्य हृदि कृत्वा जहात शुचः। हरे
दह्यमाने
कृष्ण।
अग्निभिः देहे पत्युः पत्नी स ऊटजे। बहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तम् अग्निम् अनुवेक्षति। विदरः तु तद् आश्चर्यं निशाम्य कुरु नन्दन। हर्षशोकयुतः तस्मात् गन्तः तीर्थनिषेवकम् इति उक्त्वा अथ आरुहत् स्वर्गं नारदः स तुम्बुरुः। युधिष्ठिरवचः तस्य हृदि कृत्वा जहात् शूचः।
हरे कृष्ण। आशीष प्रभु जी। कृपा में माता जी।
दहमान दह्यमाने अग्निभिर्देहे पत्युपत्नी सहोदरे। वाहिः स्थिता पतिं साध्वी तम अग्निम् अनुवेक्षति। विदुरस्तु तद् आश्चर्यम् निशाम्य कुरु नन्दन। हर्षशोकायुतस्तस्मात् गन्ततीर्थनिषेवकः इति उत्कटरुहात् स्वर्गं नार- नारदसः तुम्बुरुः युधिष्ठिरो वचस्तस्य हृदि कृत वचः चुचः
कृपामयी माताजी.
दह्यमाने
हरे कृष्ण.
अग्निभिः हरे कृष्ण दह्यमाने अग्निभिः तेहि पत्यु पत्नी सह युतेचे उतेचे बहि स्थितापतिं सात्वितम् अग्निम् अनुवेक्षति विदुरस्तु तत् आचर्यं साम्या कुरुनन्दन हर्षशोकायुतो तस्मात् कन्दातीर्थ विवेशक इति उक्त्वा अरुक्त स्वर्गम् नारद सग तुम्बुरा युधिष्ठिरवाच तस्य हृदि कृत्वा जगच्चूचः. Thank you, Mother.
Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. While outside observing her husband, who will burn in the fire of mystic power along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention. Vidura, being affected with delight and grief, will then leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. Having spoken thus, the great sage Nārada, along with his vīṇā, ascended into outer space. Yudhiṣṭhira kept his instruction in his heart and so was able to get rid of all lamentation. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gāndhārī was an ideal chaste lady, a life companion of her husband, and therefore, when she saw her husband burning in the fire of mystic yoga along with his cottage of leaves, she despaired. She left home after losing her 100 sons, and in the forest she saw that her most beloved husband was also burning. Now she actually felt alone, and therefore she entered the fire of her husband and followed her husband to death. This entering of a chaste lady into the fire of her dead husband is called the Satit rite, and the action is considered to be most perfect for a woman. In a later age, this Sati rite became an obnoxious criminal affair because the ceremony was forced upon even an unwilling woman. In this fallen age, it is not possible for any lady to follow the Sati rite as chastely as it was done by Gāndhārī and others in past ages. A chaste wife like Gāndhārī would feel the separation of her husband to be more burning than actual fire. Such a lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily, and there is no criminal force by anyone. When the rite became a formality only and force was applied upon a lady to follow the principle, actually it became criminal, and therefore the ceremony was to be stopped by state law. This prophecy of Narada Muni to Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira forbade him to go to his widow's aunt. Gandhari was an ideal chess. Vidura was astonished to see the marvelous departure of his brother Dhritarashtra as a liberated yogi. For in his past life, he was much attached to materialism. Of course, it was only due to Vidura that his brother attained the desirable goal of life. Vidura was therefore glad to learn about it, but he was sorry that he could not make his brother turn into a pure devotee. This was not done by Vidura because of Dhritarashtra's being inimical to the Pandavas, who were all devotees of the Lord. An offense at the feet of a Vaishnava is more dangerous than an offense at the lotus feet of the Lord. Vidura was certainly very liberal to bestow mercy upon his brother Dhritarashtra, whose past life was very materialistic. But ultimately, the result of such mercy certainly depended on the will of the Supreme Lord in the present life. Therefore, Dhritarashtra attained liberation only, and after many such liberated states of life, one can attain to the stage of devotional service. Vidura was certainly very mortified by the death of his brother and sister-in-law, and the only remedy to mitigate such lamentation was to go out to pilgrimage. Thus, Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira had no chance to call back Vidura his surviving uncle. Sri Nāradji is an eternal spaceman, having been endued with a spiritual body by the grace of the Lord. He can travel in the outer space of both material and spiritual world without restriction and can approach any planet in unlimited space within no time. We have already discussed his previous life as the son of a maid servant. Because of his association with the pure devotees, he was elevated to the position of an eternal spaceman and thus had freedom of movement. One should therefore try to follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni and not make a futile effort to reach other planets by mechanical means. Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira was a pious king, and therefore he could see Narad Muni occasionally. Anyone who desires to see Narad Muni must first be pious and follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni. Thus, end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the first canto, 13th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Dhritarashtra Quits Home. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Am Sri Guroho Sri Tapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam परिजन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांच नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे वांछा कल्पतरुभे च कृपा सिंधुभे एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा. Today we completing chapter 13 of Srimad Bhagavatam, canto first. Dhritarashtra quits home. How Dhritarashtra doing yogic mystic and his yogic mystic, due to that mystic power, his body burned and turned into ashes, and Gāndhārī, his chaste wife, also follow him, and she also enter in that fire. And here they told that Vidura uh, thought that he could not able to turn Dhritarashtra a pure devotee of a supreme personality of Godhead, but his mystic power he get only mukti. How that point discussed, Prabhuji will tell us in detail. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhecha kripa sindhubhe evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for wonderful reading session. So here we see through this shloka the profound devotion of a wife, a chaste wife, towards her husband, and at the same time we are also seeing the enlightening wisdom of Vidurji, Jesus says in his own, I'll say, activities. So the events which are described here, they are deeply spiritual. They are demonstrating the power of renunciation, devotion, and the transcendental nature of divine wisdom. So here we see that Dhritarashtra, who is the husband of Gāndhārī, will burn in the fire of mystic power along with his thatched cottage. And she's standing outside observing. And then, with rapt attention, she herself will enter the fire. Visually, she will get affected with delight as well as grief by seeing all things. And then he will leave that place of sacred pilgrimage. Nāradji, he would be successful in helping Yudhiṣṭhira get rid of the lamentations. So he, along with his vīṇā, will ascend into the outer space as usual. Nārayana, Nārayana, Nārayana. Yudhiṣṭhira, having heard all this profound wisdom from Nāradji, he keep all these instructions from the heart and thus successfully overcomes the lamentation. If we see the Vedic culture, a devoted wife is considered an embodiment of selfless love and service. And that is why they are Shakti, Nari Shakti. Because they are so much always engaged in something or the other. And whatever they do with the intention of Seva Bhav because of their love and they're always selfless. Gāndhārī was such an ideal chaste lady. She proved herself to be a life companion for her husband. And so when she saw her husband burning in the fire of the mystic yoga along with the cottage, she despaired. She had already lost her 100 sons in the battle. She had left home with her husband. And then she felt alone. And so she entered the fire of her husband and thus accepted her death as well. So this particular ritual which is being described here is called as the sati ritual, wherein a chaste lady enters the fire of her dead husband and follows him in leaving the body. A chaste wife like Gāndhārī would feel the separation more burning than the actual fire in which she was to give up her body. So this signifies the importance of remaining firm in one's duty and faith, even in the most challenging times. Highlights the concept of detachment, where one focuses on the soul rather than the temporary material body. And that is why she always became a renowned example of how life has to be lived. With reference to the sati formality, Prabhupada explains very clearly that a lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily. There cannot be any criminal force by anyone. But over a period of time, this became a formality. And there used to be pressure upon the ladies to follow the principle. And hence it became criminal. And so he had to be stopped by the state law. But practically, it was completely different concept as per the Vedic culture. So the prophecy of Narad Muni to Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira that his aunt is also now no more made it very difficult for Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj to at least go and serve his aunt. And then look at Vidura. He was astonished to see the marvelous departure of his brother Dhritarashtra as a liberated yogi, because throughout his past life he was very much attached to materialism. But still he attained the desirable goal of life. And so Vidura was very glad to learn about it. As Bataji mentioned, Vidurji, he represents the ideal devotee who is free from material attachments, yet remains compassionate. And he was still very mortified by the death of his brother and sister-in-law. And so for him, the only remedy which was remaining to mitigate the lamentation was to go out to pilgrimage. So his reaction teaches us an important lesson that even in worldly losses, a wise person finds spiritual joy if the soul is progressing towards liberation. Vidura then continues his pilgrimage, showing that a spiritual seeker's journey never stops and must always strive continuously, consistently for the higher wisdom. And the ultimate objective of the life has to be to achieve Krishna prema. And this is where Vidurji was also sad that he could not make his brother a pure devotee. Now, Vidurji could not do it because Dhritarashtra throughout his life was inimical to Pandavas, who were all devotees of Lord. And an offense at the feet of Vaishnava is more dangerous than an offense at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So Vaishnava Aparadh is very, very dangerous. When someone commits Vaishnava Aparadh, it can stop a person's progress in devotional service. It can make a person unfit to render pure devotion. It can also make a person do abominable actions. So what can be the examples of Vaishnava Aparadh? Disobeying the orders of spiritual master, finding fault with devotees, offending others with word, body, or mind. So, understanding and correcting the mentality of committing offenses is very, very important. Because if not done, then whatever progress we have made in devotional service will be completely given up. So, how do we deal with Vaishnava Aparadh? First and foremost, give up the finding fault with devotees. Second, please be careful not to offend others. And third is always and always being ready to serve the devotees. We need to be very careful. Its consequences are dangerous. So we need to understand the mental patterns that lead to such offenses. We have to be aware. We have to foster introspection. And we have to guide each other towards cultivating a harmonious devotional environment that avoids offenses. So this becomes important from this aspect so that we don't end up in a bigger problem. And as far as Yudhiṣṭhira was concerned, he was rightfully guided by Narad Muniji in overcoming the sorrow which he was suffering. Now, Naradji is an eternal spaceman. He has been endowed with material body, endowed with a spiritual body by the grace of the Lord. So he can travel in the outer spaces of both the material and spiritual worlds without restriction. And he can always approach any planet in unlimited space within no time at all. We have all seen how Naradji became Naradji, how in his previous birth he was just a simple child of a maid servant. But because of his association with pure devotees, his service to the pure devotees, he was elevated to the position of an eternal spaceman and thus had freedom of movement. So we need to follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni and not make a futile effort to reach other planets by mechanical means. This is very, very important for us to understand. So you should always try to follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni and not make a futile effort to reach other planets by mechanical means. Today, someone was saying that one of our human species is caught up in some space station, and so one company is being asked to go and bring them back from there. Such all mechanical efforts are only futile. Even if we try to go to other planets, we need to make ourselves eligible to go there. So Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira was a pious king, and therefore he could see Narad Muni. Anyone who desires to Narad Muni actually must first become pious and follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni. So true wisdom, when accepted with faith, can remove even the deepest sorrows, as we see in the case of Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj. So Narada's teachings emphasize that the material world is temporary. We should focus on attaining eternal happiness through devotion to God. And the transformation of Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj reminds us that in moments of grief, divine wisdom provides the greatest relief. So instead of lamenting, we should surrender to Lord's will and focus on spiritual duties. So the lessons for us are three: detachment from material body. Just like Dhritarashtra gave up the body in fire, we too must prepare ourselves for the ultimate departure. Second, the power of wisdom. Vidura's realization shows that true wisdom leads to both enlightenment and compassion. And third, faith in divine teachings. Yudhiṣṭhira found peace by accepting Narada's teachings, proving that surrender to divine knowledge removes all sufferings forever, permanently. So, with these in mind, we just need to continue our sadhana, continue our chanting, and hope for Krishna to take care of everything.